in order to qualify for the full $1,000 investment by the United States government, what you have to qualify for is that you have to be making under $20,500 a year as a single person or $41,000 a year as a married tax filer. But that's not all. The government is only going to give you up to a 50% contribution, which means in order to qualify for this $1,000 a year contribution, not only do you have to make under this amount of money, but you also then have to contribute at least $2,000 over the year, because then the government is going to match you 50% up to giving you $1,000. So if you want to qualify for the $1,000, you have to make less than this, and then you have to contribute at least $2,000. But if you make more than this, that doesn't mean you might not get any money. It means it's going to slowly get phased out. I'll show you. If you make between $20,500 a year and $35,500 a year, you will still qualify for some free money from the government. And if you're a married tax filer and you're making between $41,000 a year and $71,000 a year, you're still going to get some free money for the government, but not up to the full $1,000. If you make more than this, then you're not going to qualify for any free money from the government. And I do want to say that the most expensive kind of money is free money, but I'm going to talk more about that in just a minute, so make sure you stick with me about that. The two things that I want you to understand is, number one, what is the impact of fees? Because whether you use a 401k, IRA, Trump IRA, you have to understand how these fees work. And then I want to talk about how is the government actually going to pay for this? So let's start by talking about fees, because I think that's an important lesson for everybody who's thinking about investing your money, even if you're not using a 401k. Because the reality is, if you put your money into any fund, whether it's a 401k or an IRA or a Trump IRA, whether it's a mutual fund, an ETF, or an index fund, every single one of these funds have a fee. That fee is called an expense ratio. So let me diagram what that means. If you invest $500 a month, and you do this for the next 30 years of your working career, and you can get an 8% return on your money, which, by the way, has been the average historical 401k return. Well, now, when it comes time for you to retire, you're going to have right around $679,000, which might sound like a lot of money. The first problem is it's not going to be enough money for most people to retire. The second problem is you haven't even talked about fees yet. If you are paying the average 401k fee, which at the time we're recording this video is right around 1.26%, well, then what that means is you're not going to retire with $679,000. Now you're going to retire with right around $540,000. Because yes, the other $139,000 went into the hands of your money managers in the form of fees. That's why low fees can be very valuable, assuming that you're getting similar or better returns. So now let's do the math. If you got the same type of returns, but now you're paying 0.15% in fees, now you're going to retire with about $660,000, which means you're going to have a whole lot more money than here, because now your fees are significantly less. And over the course of your working career, you're only going to pay about $19,000 in fees, which is why if you have a 401k, if you have an IRA, if you're investing in a mutual fund, an index fund, an ETF, your homework after this video is to look at how much your expense ratio is and see, is the fee worth it? I'm not saying fees are not worth it. Sometimes they are, but you have to make sure that if you're paying higher in fees, you're going to be getting better results as well. Because if you're going to pay the fee, you might as well get better returns for paying those high fees as well. Now that you understand this, let's talk about where the government is going to get this money, the implications on the economy, and how this creates opportunities for the financially savvy investors. Right now, here's a very rough overview of how the government's finances are running. The United States government has one source of revenue, and that revenue is from tax dollars from taxpayers. And in 2026, it is estimated that the United States government is going to generate approximately $5 trillion in taxes. That includes all the different types of taxes that government taxes you. And then they're expected to spend something around, and around this number, they're going to spend something around $7 trillion, which means there is a gap. And that gap is approximately $2 trillion. And the way that the government is going to cover that gap is through debt. So the government right now, without any additional costs, is spending more money that they're bringing in. And the way that they're covering their costs is by going deeper into debt. This would kind of be like working a job, not having any money in your bank account, then going to the Gucci store and buying a nice purse and a nice wallet, and maybe a nice scarf too, because your Amex just gave you a brand new credit card. So the government is surviving off of this debt. Now, if the government is going to start funding these Trump IRAs, that means their expenses are going to rise because they naturally have to pay more money if they're going to give out this free money. So if the government is going to give out this free money, where are they going to get it? There are only two options. Option number one is they can raise taxes, but that doesn't seem very likely because remember, President Trump just signed one of the biggest and most historic tax cuts in the history of time through the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. So it's probably not going to come from taxes. So if it's not going to come from taxes, the only other place that it could come from is through more debt. Well, this is where things get even more interesting. If the government is going to go deeper into debt to fund these Trump IRAs, where are they going to borrow this money from? And the government can borrow money from three places. They can borrow money from people like you and me who lend money to the United States government. They can borrow this money from foreign countries like Japan and the United Kingdom and China. Or they can borrow this money from the Federal Reserve Bank, which is the central bank here in the United States, which has been a growing lender to the United States because the government keeps borrowing so much money that the government cannot get enough money from people like you and me and foreign countries. Now, the interesting thing about the Federal Reserve Bank is, although they're called the Federal Reserve Bank, they're actually not a bank because you and I can't go there to deposit money. They're not a reserve because they're not sitting on any cash reserves, and they're actually not federal. It says so on their website. And so if the Federal Reserve Bank doesn't have any cash reserves, how are they going to lend money to the United States government? Well, the Federal Reserve Bank has a special power, and that special power is to print money. So the Federal Reserve Bank can print this money out of thin air and lend it to the United States government, which sounds great, but let's think about that for a second. If the Federal Reserve Bank can just print money, why do you have to pay taxes in the first place? Because there is a cost to money printing. Anytime you hear of government spending, I want you to think of inflation. Because when you create money, you cannot create wealth. You can print the dollars, but you cannot print the wealth. So when dollars get created, the value of each individual dollar goes down, causing the prices of things to go up. So could these Trump accounts create more inflation? Well, based off of basic economics, yes. Now that you understand that, how can this create opportunity? Because the first thing that I want you to understand on the opportunity side is not on the inflation side, but the supply and demand side. Because how does the stock market work? Specifically, how is the stock market priced? It's the same way every other asset is priced. It's the same way houses are priced. It's the same way gold is priced. It's the same way cryptocurrency is priced. It's priced based off of supply and demand. When you have more buyers than sellers, the price of this thing goes up. When you have more sellers than buyers, the price of that thing goes down. So if the stock market runs on supply and demand, and there's more buyers coming into the stock market, because the whole idea is this: increasing access into the stock market, increasing the amount of dollars that people are putting into the stock market, but making it easier. Well, we know that that could bring more buyers into the stock market, which could boost the stock market. But don't forget this: the government also wants to throw more money into the stock market. How? By printing money and throwing that money directly into the stock market. It's not even being hidden here. The government is looking to print money and inject it directly into the stock market. Now, the whole idea behind this Trump IRA is still very new, so take this number with a grain of salt, but it is estimated that this Trump IRA is going to lead to somewhere between 32 billion to 68 billion of new dollars entering the stock market. That's people contributing money into the stock market and the government printing money and injecting that into the stock market, which is a way to help boost the stock market. So now that you understand that, how can this create opportunity? Well, as an investor, you want to own where the money is moving. And this is a clear signal that once this actually happens, because it's going to start in 2027, the idea is this is another way to boost money going into the stock market. If you enjoyed this clip and you want to continue your financial education journey, I have another video that I think you'll love. All you got to do is click that button right over there. And for those of you who want to stay up to date on the top finance and business news, you can join Market Briefs, my free financial newsletter, by clicking that button below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.